I want to ask you why you finally went to a third-party pizza delivery system and how you think that's going to go and what the results will be, because we've done this for years and you've always been real adamant about in-house pizza drivers.
Yes.
And now sounds like it's changing. And
we shouldn't have drugs that we're consuming being produced overseas. We shouldn't have chips that are powering artificial intelligence being produced overseas. And we shouldn't have vehicles that American people are buying being made overseas and being sold back here at a cheaper price because they're doing it with slave labor. We literally lost good paying manufacturing jobs. We lost the middle class because George Bush screwed this country and gave all of our manufacturing jobs to China.
then you touched on inflation, and lately it's been pretty high. What do you think the economy is going to be doing here in the next few years? Do you see it?
Brian, how long have you worked for me?
8 years.
So 8 years this guy's tolerated me. And he has been like one of the most cool, calm, collected individuals that has taken whatever I have actually thrown at him. Generally, well, let's just say he's taken it in stride. For 8 years, Brian and I have talked business about generally every day, but this is a different one. Brian's generally behind the scenes. Most people don't know him, so I'm really curious to see how this conversation goes. So, yeah, Brian, I will
fire away.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, we'll just fire away and see where it goes.
Okay, we're going to start here with just describe your leadership methods and how you think they are effective.
Describe my leadership methods and how I think that they're effective. Over the years, I have long said, people shouldn't get into entrepreneurship. It's a losing battle, but people should invest in themselves when it comes to leadership. That said, my leadership development and growth has been through all of the reading of the books, but so much of it is, I know I have to be me. Like all of you know, like don't water me down, but yet you're probably going to water me down when you start talking to everybody else. And I'm saying that because my leadership ability and style, it's evolved over the years. But it's all evolved from that place of my dream job being a union rep, being the union steward. So everything that I've come at it from has been that, yes, I gotta be me, which means I know that I'm going to repel people that are not like me, and people that appreciate me for being me, that they're going to gravitate towards me, but always falling back to I know that I can be harsh and brash and what most people would call an asshole, but you always know where you stand with me. I'm honest. I'm willing to give you the shirt off my back. I'm willing to do the shitty job right along with everybody else. So it is a servant style leadership. And my hope is that is refreshing, because in a day and age of politics where everybody demonizes the leaders and demonizes the businesses and just greedy corporations, that coming at it from a servant style leadership position will attract the right people. And I'm saying it like that because when you say leadership, I don't wake up every day and say, how can I be a leader? How can I develop my leadership abilities? I wake up every day and say, what problems can I fix? Who can I help? How can I be of service? And we've experienced a certain amount of success. Me refusing to be anything other than me. Like any time that I catch myself feeling like I'm doing something because it's the new thing or there's a trend, I always go home and I'm like, I don't want to be or do because that's what everybody else is being and doing. And then I pull back from it So I think that the leadership side of it has come into the gaining of respect, that I'm going to walk my own path, and ultimately I want to do right by everybody to the best of my ability. And I guess I'm trying to, I don't want to feel like I'm sidestepping the question, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Well, I was going to go a little step further. You hire managers, you hire these people to do jobs for you. And a lot of times you don't allow them to do their jobs, or you kind of, like you said, step on them because there's a certain way you're going to do it, and whether we like it, whether we don't, that's how it's going to be. But it has changed over the years some.
And because you've given me more to actually like grab onto. So I think that there has to be a certain amount of this like in entrepreneurship in the beginning years. I knew that accountability was at the top of my list. And I had to be responsible for everything. So in order to be responsible for everything, I had to look like I was power hungry, or I didn't trust anybody. It all had to go through me. And it was because I knew no matter what happened, I had to be responsible, hold myself accountable. And the only way that I could do that was to say, all decisions go through me. Then it was through that reading and development where I realized you're not going to scale it without other people. And if you're going to pay other people, you can't throttle them. You have got to give up a certain amount or put trust in them, give them a certain amount of responsibility and step back and let them run with it. And it has been that I'm coming from here and I know that I want to get here, but as I'm taking a step forward and I'm giving that trust, and then something will happen, and then I'll be like, I tried to give it out, but no, I got to pull it back. And then I'm like, no, I know ultimately this is wrong. Give up the trust, knowing that, yes, it is. I've got to move to a position of having an inner circle that, I trust you almost implicitly, but it's taken 8 years. And I'm sitting there going, some of that is that trust yet verify, but I know in order for us to excel and grow, we're going to have to bring on more people. So it is a process
that I'm growing. And
I'm trying every day to give more trust and give up more responsibility to people that I trust, because I know everybody in the organization is being paid. When I get a payroll, I'm like, okay, I'm paying everybody. Have I empowered them and give them all the tools that they need to do their jobs so that they can succeed in their roles? I know that's the answer, but when you come from a control freak, and I'm saying I'm a recovering control freak. Well, you don't go from recovering control freak to full on. You've been willing to give up control. This has been that journey that I have been on. And I think all of you can admit that slowly, I'm evolving,
but
it has been a slow process, but it's all ultimately based on, I know, pass or fail, I'm responsible. And when it's a pass and a success, I have to give all the credit to you guys. But when it's a fail, I'm ultimately responsible for it. And that itself is that struggle of going from a control freak to getting to the other side where we are all empowered to do our piece.
Okay. All right. I want to ask you why you finally went to a third-party pizza delivery system and how you think that's going to go and what the results will be, because we've done this for years and you've always been real adamant about in-house pizza drivers.
Yes.
And now sounds like it's changing. And
it is, it's like if somebody comes through and says, oh, you should have this, and then the business goes and gets 20 of them only to find out that one person was the only person that there was demand for it. And I learned a long time ago, like, I want to hear 10 people asking for something, then I know there's demand, and then I'll bring it in so that we know that there's demand to the supply that we bring in. Mm-hmm. I don't like going on fads because fads fade, but you have to decipher between what is a fad and what is a trend. I despise the third-party platforms. We come back to the control. The third-party platforms take away my control of the process of handling the customer directly, taking the order, making the order, delivering the order to the customer. The third party intervenes in that. I despise the platforms because I think that their processes are horrible. And it's funny, and we've had this conversation, government is ultimately responsible for inflation. But these third party platforms have fed on people's laziness and willing to pay exorbitant amounts of money for convenience. And I say it like that because I don't have any choice but to raise my price. They take 30%, and there's no food and beverage business that has a 30% margin to give up.
Yeah.
So because they take 30%, I have to jack up my price, and people are willing to pay that price to buy from their app, where I got to a point of saying, people have legitimized these third-party programs. These companies are now multi-billion-dollar businesses traded on the stock market. They're not going anywhere. So because they're not going anywhere and they are a very real part of food and beverage, I've got to do business with them. I don't want to do business with them, but because of the manner that they operate, they have dried up my labor pool. You have people that want to deliver shit, and that's all encompassing. Well, I always had a labor pool to pull from when I wanted to hire out of that pool to deliver my items. But with these third-party programs, when I hire people to deliver my items, when they're not delivering, I need them inside the store working because I'm paying them a wage. Well, they circumvented that. These third-party programs are like, you don't have to work for anybody. You can feel like your own boss, and all you have to do is just deliver. The lazy employee is gravitating towards that because they see it as easier money, which means my labor pool to hire delivery drivers has shrunk up to almost nothing because the employment is all gravitating to these third parties. So I have a customer base that has been built on this app that I can't get to unless I do business with them. And I've got an employee base that is dried up because they're only driving for these apps. In business, this has been about being malleable. I don't like the platforms. I hate doing business with them. I think it is rife with fraud and food tampering and just not good people being involved in the process. But the American public has legitimized them. So I'm like, okay, I'm not in business to do only what I want to do. I have to flex with what is happening inside of business. And these third-party programs are here to stay. And we had to write a whole new process for how do we deal with them. We have to go back and audit because of the fraudulent people that are just click buttons and try and get free food, to where literally we had to focus pieces of our camera system to record the entire event of passing off somebody else's food and putting it in their care and hoping that it gets to the end person. All of these things I didn't want to do, but the public has forced my hand to say, if you're going to be in food delivery, these third-party programs exist, and this is the preferred method of a generation that they would just rather do business with this platform rather than utilizing our app and ordering directly from us. Or apparently there's now a new phobia of having a conversation with somebody. Like they literally have a phobia for picking up a phone and ordering their pizza over the phone. They would rather pay a higher fee to just do business with this platform because it's just finger pecking. And in fact, it is causing inflation because all of the businesses that are on the platform, we all have to hike our prices because the platform gouges us. Like, I would love if they only took 5 or 10% of the sale, because then I would just take the hit and not have to jack my price on their system. But when they take 30% of the sale, I'm like, I have no choice but to increase my prices. So it's a bittersweet, because there is a certain amount of business that comes in here for us, but there's extra processes. and extra research that are all necessary, because these third-party programs have put small businesses out of business because those small businesses chose to do business with them, but they didn't follow up and look at all of the refunds, and they would do thousands of dollars worth of business only to find out the third party just said, oh, well, they complained about something, so we refunded them their money, and then you don't get any money coming into your bank account. It's like these third parties they're not good for society, but it preys on the laziness of our society. And that's just factual. If our society was not horribly lazy, these third-party platforms would not exist. There would not be financial backing to them for them to exist on the stock market.
Okay. Then you touched on inflation, and lately it's been pretty high. What do you think the economy is going to be doing here in the next few years? Do you see it continuing? Maintaining where it's at? It's hard to say.
No. It's just that I don't. I have strong political convictions and feelings.
Yeah, I wasn't going to get into the political thing.
But when you talk about inflation is a government issue, so you're automatically going to get into politically sensitive issues. The election has passed. I personally believe that energy prices have a dramatic effect on all inflation, all cost of doing business in business. People do not realize the amount of energy cost that is built into sucking off of a cow's tit to get milk and processing that milk, because it has to go through homogenation machines, blah, blah. Maybe I'm not using the right word, but the point is, like, you are paying for electrical energy at a cost to suck off the cow's tit to extract the milk. Then you're paying an electrical cost to run it through an actual system to get it to sellable milk. Then you're paying to dispense that sellable milk, again, energy cost, into packaging and loading it up on a truck. And then whatever the energy cost is, you have to pay that truck to deliver it to the grocery stores. So ultimately what I'm getting at is people don't realize the energy cost that is built into every leg of the process of taking a raw product and delivering it to the end customer. So I think that they say history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. If you go back and you look at the 4 years that Trump was in office, he attacked the energy industry. It was produce more energy, get costs down. And way back in 2016, everybody said you would never see $2 a gallon gas again. By the end of his term, we saw $2 a gallon of gas. And it affects everything because you pay the bills. When GFS delivers to us, there's a gas charge. And that gas charge fluctuates with the cost of gas, how much they have to pay in energy costs to deliver our products to us. So I truly believe that if he has the same effect that he did last time, energy costs are going to come down, which means inflation will stay in check. And that's the thing is what most people don't realize is that the world, fiat currency, economies, it's all a Ponzi scheme. They're making promises today that they can't pay for today. They're paying with tomorrow's money. We can't have deflation. Deflation would literally wreck economies. So this is about prices are always going to go up. But if he attacks the energy industry and he drives down the cost of industry or energy, then inflation is going to be at a trickle. And obviously, we just came out of 4 years where inflation, what we saw for the first time in my lifetime, hyperinflation. And that's what happens when you spend money like a drunken sailor and print money that is backed by nothing, with energy costs exploding, because that's part of the political side of it. That administration wanted to push people towards electric. And there's a whole lot of unanswered questions there. But the point is, energy prices down, inflation under control. energy prices up, inflation runs out of control. So hopefully, because I'm hoping that we don't have to put in a price increase in the year 2025, but we watch inflation, and energy costs are a clear indicator of whether inflation is remaining in check or not.
Yeah. Okay, and that was going to go to the manufacturing all, around here locally and nationally, that they're saying manufacturing could be decreasing. I don't know if that worries you, if that's feel like a big concern or not really.
And again, we get into politics, but I'll go a little bit deeper on it just because I can badmouth both sides. This country used to be 70% manufacturing, 30% service. Mm-hmm. We have now completely flipped. We are now 30% manufacturing, 70% service. Why are we like that? Because George Bush gave our manufacturing to China. That they went from agricultural into manufacturing. We literally lost good paying manufacturing jobs. We lost the middle class because George Bush screwed this country and gave all of our manufacturing jobs to China. Then you've got NAFTA. Again, then now we're giving manufacturing jobs to Mexico. Again, then Trump comes in and says, I don't like these agreements. Let's renegotiate these agreements. It looked like he was starting to have success on either getting American companies to bring their jobs back to America or getting foreign companies to start building plants in America. Then when Biden got elected, he wanted to see battery powered, so he wrote bills to encourage types of battery manufacturing here in America. Then they realized that we had outsourced all of our drugs and all of our microchips to Taiwan and to China. So again, politicians have now made steps saying this is national security. Probably better look at bringing this stuff back. What I'm getting at is that when they talk about manufacturing suffering, it hurts America a little less right now because we're only 30% manufacturing. But we have also given up our sovereignty. We have also put ourselves in danger of, as far as our own safety and security. We shouldn't have drugs that we're consuming being produced overseas. We shouldn't have chips that are powering artificial intelligence being produced overseas. And we shouldn't have vehicles that American people are buying, being made overseas and being sold back here at a cheaper price because they're doing it with slave labor. And that's one of the things Trump's trying to stop by putting tariffs on their vehicles that are coming in to say, you're not going to further deteriorate our manufacturing jobs. Rounding all of that out, manufacturing, that there is fresh life that can be breathed into manufacturing, but it's definitely not going to happen overnight. When manufacturing suffers, the rest of the world suffers more than we suffer, because now in American innovation, the 70% that is the service economy, it is thriving. And when I say services, I'm talking about SaaS, software as a service. I mean, like we are 70% service providing. So if we start to breathe life back into manufacturing, then it could be another leg of the actual country itself hitting a higher level of growth in general. But point being, if manufacturing starts to suffer, I think America will be okay. But with this president, I think that he's going to make inroads to getting more drugs brought back to America, getting more technology brought back to America, getting more manufacturing brought back to America, and we'll be on our next leg of growth as a whole. But then we get into what you and I have in common. Stellantis put all their eggs in the basket of battery powered, and there's no demand for it. I don't want a battery powered vehicle. I like my gas vehicle. At some point, maybe I'll want a battery powered vehicle, but the point is, I'm concerned about Kokomo. I'm concerned about manufacturing in Kokomo
That's
because all they have done is invest in battery powered, and had Biden or whoever won re-election, they were going to continue to shove it down our throat that we didn't have a choice, that we had to move to battery. Now that Trump's got in office, he more takes the stance, if you want battery powered, there's providers out there, go buy yourself one. But I'm not going to force the country into buying battery powered. So the country is not going to naturally gravitate towards it because we don't want it. We very much love our combustion engines. And I'm really wondering how is Stellantis going to flex to that, because they took their foot off the gas when it comes to battery powered, and they made a huge investment that might take decades to pay off. And it is very much concerning for the Kokomo economy.
Okay, last one. Famous line, waste kills all.
Always.
Who coined that?
That was totally me. It was because the thing is waste kills all. I think that it was like in my early years, I'm reading and they talked about like, you got to have mottos, you got to have things that you just beat into people's head. And I knew that it was working when they started mocking me about it. But the point is, the two main things that I took out of Chrysler, as far as not from the union side, but from the company operating mass manufacturing corporate side: quality is long-term viability, and waste kills all. I was a truck driver inside of there for 3 years, and for one of those years, it was my job to drive around to all of the scrap bays and pick them up and take them out to the semis and dump them in the beds, and then they would roll them off to take them back to dump back into the molten to go to the next. And I remember looking at it and I'm like you can't die cast this any better. All of this waste has to be machined off of this transmission case. You can't reduce your tolerances. The amount of, you die cast a part this big and the end part is this big, and then you got to take all of that was shaved off of it from all of the different processes, and then take it back to be melted down to do it all over again. And I'm like, but why couldn't the part just start here? and again, it was looking at it across the board, and I'm like, what is one of the biggest detriments to the manufacturing industry and to Chrysler as I saw it? Because I hired in 94 and I worked there for 14 years, and I watched their tolerances get really tight. I watched their quality improve, and that led to some very profitable years for Chrysler. Again, quality is long-term viability. But the amount of waste that comes out of that plant, now those plants, is absolutely sickening. And that was the biggest lesson I took out of there. As a small business, I can't function or operate and have that level of waste. I'll go bankrupt. And I mean, hell, I have almost destroyed or sunk it several times. And Coffee Junkiez is literally a zero waste operation. Like the food and beverage industry, it's the easiest to get into and it's the hardest to master. And it's because of your two levers: your cost of sale, which is tied to waste, and your labor, which is tied to waste. Wasted steps, wasted product, wasted processes. Waste kills all. And I love that they mock me about it, because I can literally step up to them and they're automatically, they know what I'm thinking when they are wasting motions or when they are wasting products. They know what I'm thinking when they're wasting time, because I'm mocked about it, but I'm like, we wouldn't be where we are today had I not always been looking for ways to cut out waste. I mean, even right down to, we got to a point where I was dumping out so much pickle juice and I'm like, I'm wasting pickle juice because I'm paying for it. Oh, pickle juice is a good degreaser. How can we use the pickle juice to degrease so that I don't actually have to buy chemical degreaser? Any way that we can look to reduce waste or to get more usage out of something before having to replace it, because as a small business, I don't have billions of dollars to justify all of the waste that comes out of those factories. But that was the lesson that I took out of the plant. And there's no fancy ring to it. Waste kills all. Like, you give me an instance where waste does not literally kill. And it was, I'm happy to be mocked about it because it is.
I'm not mocking. I'm just
no. But I'm because I'm challenging anybody. Like, I try not to live a life of regret. But as I've evolved, where I've gotten to a point where I realize that time is the most valuable, precious thing because you can never get it back. You can always make more money. I look back at the wasted time that I put into initiatives, the wasted time that I put into deadbeat people and relationships that were going nowhere. Like that, if I have a regret, and I try not to live in regret, I think about the amount of time that I have wasted because I was investing in the wrong person or investing in the wrong thing or walking the wrong path. And it all comes down to waste kills all. And yeah, no, it's, I think I'm happy to be mocked about it. And it was like, I always thought that when I die, that my tombstone would be I might not always win, but it's never smart to bet against me. But when I die, it's liable to be waste kills all. And they'll engrave it on the flask because they'll know better than to literally bury me. That would be wasting the ground that's there that could be used for something or someone else. I don't waste that space on me. My time is past. I'm not. I literally think in terms of waste of all kinds.
That's the conclusion of my.
Okay, now this ought to be interesting. Now for my two questions, Brian, why do you choose to work for me? And I say that, like, when you came to work for me, you didn't have your job at Chrysler. When you got your job at Chrysler, I thought, shit, he's not going to be able to balance these two things. You're one of those rare people that you work, but much like me.
Yeah, I like to work. I'm crazy.
Exactly. So I'm sitting there going, first year, but after that, you're talking about Chrysler for 7 years. You're literally almost juggling 2 full-time jobs. You don't have to do that. Why do you work for me?
Well, the main reason I've worked for you so long, I've enjoyed working with you. You've been very flexible with me. You've taught me a lot of things. You're very patient. You know, like I said, we've been through some struggles, and we pounded through them. Mm-hmm. You know, we made through a lot of things. We've done a lot of good things together, and we've obviously went forward. So, you know, I think it's been a good thing.
I appreciate that. Okay. Why should other people patronize Coffee Junkiez and Pizza Junkiez?
Well, I think they should patronize Coffee Junkiez and Pizza Junkiez, and primarily from Pizza Junkiez sake, because I think you guys make everything from fresh. I know you do, and that's quality ingredients goes a long way. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, people take stuff out of a box and whatever and throw it together. Everything's made fresh here. Everything is top quality. It's not processed. It's all made here in house. So I think that's a admirable quality. And then also, I mean, we have a salad bar as well for fresh salads that eat healthy, and then you have quality coffees and drinks and you try to keep up on the latest technology and all of the other things and
that was slow
recipes, and then some of that stuff that's we've kept up with that too. So it's been kind of it's a good atmosphere to work in due to the constant change and
see, and that's where I come right back around to the beginnings of I don't know how to be anybody but me. Like the salad bar, it's all because like I'll take a salad bar over a candy bar any day of the week.
Yeah.
Then it was my whole life I was a proud Chrysler worker, but what did I take out of it? quality is long-term viability. And I'm looking at it going, if I'm going to get into business, I don't want to compete on price, and I don't want a cheap commodity item that you can go anywhere to get. So it's been a combination of my life's experience and me as an individual that has been what has literally shaped the business as a whole, because I'm like, if I'm going to invest my life in this, I want to be proud of it. So I don't want to, I mean, I hate to bash on, but like, I wouldn't want to get to the end of this and be like, I built $1 billion Little Caesars knockoff that you just, that's where you go to buy cheap garbage like substance that fills up your stomach. No, I want comfort food. I want to sell a high quality product because I want to be proud of the product and proud of what the brand represents. And some of that is my personal upbringing, and some of that is the experience from Chrysler itself. Thank you for recognizing it.
Okay.
And thank you for doing
it.
Thank you.
That's great.